Welcome to episode 5 of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the 3D viewer. So let's roll this intro and let's get into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, because we're learning Fusion together.
So before we start, there's a couple things I forgot in the 2D and some stuff I intentionally put off till this episode. But first, let's run up top here. I missed this whole top section. So within Fusion, if we're in Fusion right here, and this doesn't matter if we have 3D, 2D, whatever's going on, but right up here, we've got our little media pool. So if we click our media pool, it's just like in our edit page and all that stuff. We've got our little media pool. And within that, we can select our bin and all the controls are the same. Additionally, we have this effects panel, so we can bring up effects. So this is an easy way to find nodes by category. And we'll go over inputting nodes, and I'll go over this later. Additionally, if we have multiple Fusion clips down here, we can view them all down here. And our node is just showing our little node area down here. And over here, we have our spline, which will show our animation splines. We can show our keyframes down here. We can show our metadata. And then as always, our inspector is our inspector. So jumping into the 3D viewer. So we went over the 2D viewer the other day. And when we're in 3D, we have just a quick little setup with a camera, a merge, 3D render, and I've got a shape and a couple lights, and we're running to our media out. But on this side, we have a 2D viewer. So this is all the same as our 2D viewer info we went over the other day, because this is our render node. And if I right click, it's all the same options as our 2D viewer. But over here, we have our 3D viewer, and this is a lot different. So if I go back down to single and we look at our 3D viewer, one, you can see it's taken up the entire real estate of our viewer. It's not limited to a specific size. And that's as long as we're on our 3D merge node or any of our other 3D nodes. If I put any of them in there other than our render node, because once we go to our render node, we are now in the 2D world. So let's move all this over. Just know this is all 2D. This is all 3D. So let's jump back into 3D. So up top, we have the same fit menu. So we can view it 100%. We can fit it. We've also got the same A and B buffer, but it works a little differently. So if I bring my B buffer up, I can bring, say, just a shape in, and I can go back and forth to my A buffer and my B buffer. In my buffer swipe, I can swipe the two. You notice there's no real purpose to this. So let's go back to our A buffer. And right here, we still have the same sub views over here, but a lot of this stuff isn't going to work because there's no information like scopes or anything going on in here. So we've got the one little 3D viewer, or we can swap, but it's going to be the same because it is the 3D viewer. And again, whatever node we've got selected or in our display is up here. So if I brought our shape in, it says shape. If I brought our merge in, it says merge. Over here, this is a bit different. So by default, yours is probably sitting on solid. So this is a default setting, so just showing solid shapes or solid whatever's in your 3D scene. Additionally, we can have wireframe. So if I zoom in, you can see all of our shapes are wireframe. I can also show our lights. So any lights, and let me uncheck that wireframe. But we can see our lights. So now we can see our lights on there. And we can see our shadows, and it's really going to be about the same. But if we have some nodes with lights turned on, some turned off, some other nodes with shadows turned on, shadows turned off, that's why we have these two different options, because sometimes we do have them shut off, sometimes we don't. Right here, this is just a transparency button, and it honestly doesn't operate like it used to, because if I go to our little shape here and go to our material and I drop our transparency down, that's off and you can see it anyway. A long time ago, you used to not be able to see this transparency unless you selected that. But now if you select it, it's a little different. And what it's doing is, if you can see in here, if I shut it off, we can see our back edges of our shape there. If I'm turning my transparency on, it's just cleaning some of that stuff up so our back edges aren't going through. And then here, all of our color channels operate exactly the same. We want to show our alpha or color. We'll hit this quad view here in a second. And then right here, we've got our viewer, so we can double it up. And you don't have to have a 2D over here. I can bring my little shape thing over here and have independent controls. And you notice now that this is a 3D viewer, it's taking up that entire real estate and not just our 3840 by 2160. And then over here, our menu system, our little options has been minified. So we can just snap to pixels, which means it's going to snap to pixels just like in our 2D viewer. We can show our high controls. So if I don't want to see all those controls on there, I can hide them all, or I can show them. And then this is all of our stereo options if we had two cameras going with stereo 3D. Now in our viewer itself, to be able to navigate around, if I click on my middle mouse button, I can hold and just move around as I want. If I scroll my middle mouse button up and down, it's going to go up and down. If I hold shift and scroll, it's going to tilt that view. If I hold control and scroll, it's going to zoom in and out. Or alternatively, I can click my left mouse button and my middle mouse button and zoom in and out. Or I can hold my middle mouse button and right mouse button and pan it around. Or I can hold my Alt key and middle mouse button and pan it around that way. And of course, while we're in our 2D viewer, we can select any object in there. So if I want to select my little shape and use my point of origin there to move it around, I can. Same with my ambient light here. I can move this ambient light around, or I can move my camera. And as always, if I have two up and I go here, look at my camera, and let's switch our material back to 100% opacity. If I move my camera around, you can see it's moving our camera around. Now, if I select this quad view, we're going to get multiple views. So as you can see, this is my setup I have right now. So I've got my main view over here, and I've got multiple views over here, and they're all labeled. So I can see it says perspective, top, front, right. I can switch this if I want. If I don't want my right and I want my left, I can right click and go to camera and select left. So now I've got my left camera, and that goes for all my different views. So if I want my top to be something else, I can go to camera and I can say, I want this to be my right camera. Now in that, if I right click and I go to views, right here under quad view, this is whether it's on or off. So if I uncheck that, it's turning it off. It is the same thing as pushing this button right here. So now it's back on. If I right click again, go to my views, I can go to my layouts and I can select how I want my layout set up. So if I select 4-way, it's just going to be 4 the same size. Or I can select bottom 3. So my main one's going to be on the top and then my small one's on the bottom. Or I can go back to the way I like it, to right 3, which means my main one's back on the left with my 3 views on the right. So let's go ahead and shut our quad view off for now. And on our right click, we've got all the same stuff that we had on our 2D and a few additional options. So we've got our scale, our channels, our guide. So we can create guides just like we did in the 2D viewers. I'm going to skip these. Our global options are all the same. Our controls are the same, but this is one of the ones I skipped yesterday on purpose because I wanted to go over in here, because this one has most of these pinning options and the select options, whereas in 2D, you don't have those options. So within our controls, we can select different items within our 3D. And what this pin means is it's pinned so we can see it. So if I go to pinned and I say none, now nothing is pinned. So you notice we just lost all controls. Even though we've got show controls all on, we don't have any controls because nothing is actually pinned to a control. So if I right click, go back to my controls here, you notice we can't select any of these to pin them back again. So what we need to do is make sure we select on one of the items. So let's select our camera. You notice we can view it. So whatever we select, we can still see within our little 3D area there. But if we go to our camera, we right click, we go to controls. Now we've got these pinned options again. So we can go to pinned and we can make sure our camera is pinned. Then we can go to our little spotlight, go to controls. We can go to pinned and make sure it's selected on spotlight. So now we've got those two pinned. And our ambient light, we really don't care if it's pinned or not because we probably don't care if we manipulate this, so we can leave that hidden. But on our shape, we want that pinned so we get that little access again. So we can just go to controls, pinned, and select our little shape. So now we've got them all pinned again. And if we want to hide those when we're not using them, we can always go here. And instead of show all controls, we can just show active tool only. So whatever one we're selected on, we're going to get that little tool, or we can go back to our controls, show all controls. Additionally, under our control section, we can auto fade our controls right here. So if I select auto fade and I just kind of sit here for a second, our controls are going to fade out, which comes in handy because now if I go up here, I can make a change. And if I want to play that back and see how it looks, while I'm playing, I can auto hide that stuff and see my actual animation without that stuff being in the way. But let's go ahead and shut those off. Additionally, within the controls, we can select this stipple hidden controls. So we're hiding anything hidden. And we can also go into the controls and down here, we can select our transparency or our sizing of our little lines there. So right now it's at 100%, but I can pick 25%. So it's a little more hidden and not up front. So you can see what you're doing a little better. So let's change that to 50 and that looks good. Additionally, under our 3D options, we've got options we didn't have in our 2D. So there's our show controls again. We can show or hide cameras. So if I show cameras, I'll be able to see cameras. I can show or hide my lights. If I had any point clouds, I'd be able to show or hide any point clouds. And same with this is the same as our little button up here. So if I go in our 3D options and I don't want to see our lighting, I can turn our lighting off or I can turn it back on. Additionally, in here, we can show any matte objects we might have. We can show or hide that grid down there. We can also change everything to wireframe, and this is just going to be your actual objects or shapes you have within there. And if I zoom in, we can also see our vertex normals. So if you ever need to double check your normals to make sure they're right, that's how you would do that. Or we can look at our UV tangents to make sure those are good. And then we can show our texture memory. So when you click that, you're not going to be able to see anything because it's actually hidden behind this little drop down menu. So if I click out of this, now you can see right here, this is our texture memory. So if I was to create a texture, so let's just, I don't know, bring in the blend. I'm going to connect it and let's just throw some random texture on there. And now if you look, we're sitting at 256. So if I keep adding, that texture memory is just going to keep going up and it's going to let you know how much memory your textures in your 3D scene are taking up. We'll go ahead and shut that off. Now in our overscan settings right here, don't get confused with typical 3D rendering overscan. So here, this is just letting us overscan our display. So if I go to overscan and I say 2 times, so now we've got a 2 times overscan. But this is not going to transcribe to rendering like it does in most 3D programs when we talk about overscan in rendering and overscan in 3D. This is not the same. So if I bring this up, you can see there's no changes and there's really no settings in here for overscan settings. So even if I go back to overscan, change it back to 1, there's no change in our renderer whatsoever. But we've also got the option for our transparencies. So however we have our transparencies set up on our rendering, we can view that as well. So on our render, you notice we have our transparency set up, and you can look at this node breakdown and it will talk about the render 3D node and all this transparency with the Z buffer, the sorted and the quick sort. But right here under transparency, we can change that so we can kind of preview it with those settings. And then the only other additional thing we have from our 2D is our camera. So our camera just is going to let us choose what we're looking through. So normally we have perspective, or we can look at it through the front or the top, or back to perspective. Additionally, within our camera setting, we can choose what camera. So if we have multiple cameras, we can select what camera we're looking through, but we can also look through actual objects. So if I want to look through my spotlight, I can select my spotlight. Now I'm looking through my spotlight, how my spotlight is facing. And this will make changes. So if I go here and let's look at our little perspective. So if I start moving my spotlight around or moving my location of my spotlight, you can see my spotlight is moving. Same with if I go up here and actually select my camera, I'm looking through my camera. So now I can manipulate my view here. And if you notice down here, our camera is moving. So we can get the angle we want. So let's go back to perspective. So all the rest of our controls, like I said, are the same as our 2D viewer. So I'm not going to put you through that again. But the only other thing I wanted to show you was up top here. So if I select this little shape, you notice we've got these little things right here. So right now it's set on our XYZ. So this little up and down arrow says move. So I can move it on my X, Y, and Z. So as you see, I can move it. If I select this, this will bring up my rotation gizmo. So now I can rotate it. And this will bring up my scale gizmo so I can scale it. So that is the 3D viewer. I will see you in the next episode.